In this class we want to talk about time management. Now, being able to manage time by the use of tools, resources and skills refers to time management. Time management means meeting our obligations on time. It means being effective in work. It means marshalling all of the resources at our disposal in a way to ensure that we meet deadlines and we meet what we've promised or what's required of us. There are many different strategies that individuals can adopt in order to help them deal with pressures from their daily lifestyle. For example, study, working, leisure, etc. In fact, we tend to have different lives. We have a work life, we have a home life, we have a social life, and perhaps we have a study life. And we need to meet the obligations of these, and we need to be able to use our time effectively to meet our obligations and to participate in each of these lives, in each of these aspects of our life. The following skills are useful in helping individuals to manage their time effectively: setting goals, setting what we want to achieve; organizing, getting everything sorted out so we can achieve what we've set out to achieve; prioritizing, meaning identifying which is most important, which should be done first and which can be left to last; planning, how we're going to do it; and avoiding procrastination. Procrastination means that we're looking for excuses, we're looking for ways of not meeting our obligations. We get sidetracked. We're trying to solve something and we start looking at something else. So we've moved away from what we should have been doing. Now, one way of dealing with this is to create a to-do list. Keeping and maintaining a diary, a daily planner and a to-do list are very effective methods for maintaining your daily errands. So, not relying on your memory, because memories, we can forget things. And also we can get confused and we can get mixed up. So write it down, have a diary, have a daily planner, and have a to-do list, what needs to be done. And assign priorities to what needs to be done. Individuals can use to-do lists, diaries and planners to jot down daily tasks, set reminders for appointments and deadline dates. So it's easy to see what is required and to focus in on what's required and to allocate time to achieve what is required. The method of a to-do list allows individuals to prioritize their tasks as important and urgent. We know what needs to be done. We have a to-do list. It's important to then go across the list and indicate which ones have to be done first. We can prioritize within that list. Now, the benefits of a to-do list, well, it provides a better focus on what needs to be achieved and by when. So we're able to focus in on what is required, and that's important. And you receive a sense of accomplishment when you tick off a task as completed. It's nice when at the end you have achieved a task, tick it off. There's a sense of accomplishment. It provides a means of tracking progress. And there's better control, which prevents you from becoming sidetracked. You know exactly what's required, so there's less chance of becoming sidetracked. Now, setting goals. Well, setting yourself goals is a very effective method of meeting the requirements that confront you, and not being sidetracked as well. It keeps your mind focused on the goal. But the goal should be SMART. That's an acronym. And SMART, in this case, is a term used in other lectures, but bring it back to mind. It means that the goal should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Now, I'm not going to talk about that now, but it's the focus of other videos elsewhere. But generally speaking, goals should be specific and measurable and achievable and so on. Goal setting provides initiatives and focus on what needs to be achieved and how you intend to achieve your goals. So it sets out what is required, and it enables you to focus in. This is the goal. The goal is to achieve a certain outcome, achieve it by a certain date. That is the goal, so that is the focus. And that means there's less chance of drifting off and looking at something else. Goals can be set using an action plan template where individuals can effectively review and follow their goals. An action plan is also set out elsewhere in the videos, but essentially an action plan sets out how a particular goal is going to be achieved, what needs to be done, how it's going to be set up, how the resources are going to be used. So it's easier to do it to achieve the goal. And once you've achieved the goal, make sure that you are rewarded. Make sure that you give yourself credit for what you've just done and the goal has been achieved. Procrastination. Well, this means drifting away and sidetracking yourself. One of the main reasons why individuals struggle to accomplish tasks is due to the fear of the unknown. So when people are afraid of what's required and can they do it, they tend to drift away and start looking at something else. They're afraid of the unknown. But they also try to avoid work to avoid any negative response. Individuals tend to stay clear of urgent tasks. They don't want to be criticized. So urgent tasks they try to avoid, they try to miss it out, say they forgot it or they overlooked a certain issue. It's not a good tactic because it looks bad for them. Individuals need to overcome their fear of doing tasks that they don't want to, and they will realize that their assumption was far worse than they assumed. It's often the case that the imagination plays tricks. People imagine that the situation is going to be very difficult, but when they start it and break it down and have an action approach to it, looking at each of the tasks that are required within the main task to achieve the main goal, when they set it out that way, they find each of the subtasks are actually quite straightforward perhaps and easy to achieve. But there is the fear of the totality. They don't want to engage in the project. So they try to do something else and justify themselves in other ways. They are procrastinating. Improving organization skills. Well, a method of developing your organization skills is through organizing your time. It looks good. It looks good to be organized and to have an efficient manner, and colleagues will respect it more because you get the job done, you get it done on time, and you're not holding anybody up, and it's a good position to be in. It's wise to keep a log where you can record your daily activities. Try to write down what you've done, just in case you're questioned on it later, or if someone said you hadn't done it, or there was an issue about it. There is a log showing what you did. Just a couple of lines in a large diary indicating what time you started an activity, what you did, and when you finished it. From this log you can determine where your day where your daytime was spent, the times that you were most productive, and when there was time wastage. So it's a way also looking back and saying, oh, well, I could have worked more effectively here, and that was a waste of time, and that was a good productive piece of work. And so you're able to learn from the experience and reflect on the experience, so that the next time round you're able to use time even better still. Now, keeping a log, well, a log can be structured in the following way. Keep a 7-day chart and record your activities from the moment you wake up. Now, this is a very strict way of doing it, but some management textbooks recommend this. Others recommend that you keep the log when you are at work. From the time you get in to the time you leave, you keep a log in there. Not an extensive log, just a few lines explaining what you did and the times you did it and what you did. So you're able to explain everything you did over the day, and you're able to look at times, as I said, when you were most productive, times when you were wasting time. Now, keeping the 7-day chart of your activities from the time you wake up is a very strict way of doing it. But some management textbooks recommend it, so we'll have a look at it. Not quite sure of its overall usefulness in the context of business itself, because we don't want to spend a lot of resource time on keeping the log. And also, we're not machines, so setting it out in the way that it's set out here, say this one is probably more like a log for a student, because I see here things like go to the library, start, draft assignment, have lunch, listen to music. These are typical student activities. But we're not machines, and we don't wake up religiously and absolutely rigorously at 9:30 every morning. Some get up at 7 o'clock, and some get up at earlier, and some get up later. And we don't watch television exactly at 5 o'clock in the evening, in the afternoon. We might watch it at 5:30. Because the program started at 5:30. Don't go to bed at 9 o'clock. This is a highly unusual set of circumstances. But the point I'm trying to make here is that keeping a log cannot be too rigid. And it's probably best to record what you've actually done in accordance with an action plan to achieve the objective or the goal that was set, looking at the resources you've got and trying to manage your time most effectively in that way. That's a probably better route than the one I've got on the screen at the moment. But if someone does decide to go down this route, then of course you can indicate which parts were the most productive. And that seems interesting enough. And you can say, well, which parts were time wastage. I'm not quite sure listening to music is time wastage. People need recreation. People need to watch some television and be sociable and understand what's happening in the world. Not just watching the news, but watching entertainment shows as well, so that they can be more interesting as people. But that's one route, and you've probably picked up that I'm not completely over the top about it. I much prefer the idea of going to work and keeping the log from the time you get to work, and keeping the log over your working day, making a few points at each stage. You've done something, you've completed something, looking at the action plan to achieve the goal, and ticking off the action plan, the list of, if you like, routines that are required to achieve the goal, and managing your time to achieve those, and then reflecting on the log to see what you've done right and what you've done wrong. Another technique that's sometimes used and turns up in management books is the urgent important matrix. Again, I'm not 100% sure about the usefulness of this, but it is a technique that crops up and we should discuss it. Some individuals are dedicated, hard-working and very organized, however fail to manage their time because they focus on tasks completion that are unimportant. So although they're organized and looking at the job and hard-working, they fail to manage their time because they focus on tasks completion that are unimportant. They try to finish the tasks that are not important. It's important to finish the tasks that are important. It's important to prioritize, in other words. Therefore, they are efficient at task completion, but they're not effective. They're completing a lot of tasks, but not, if you like, the right tasks, not the high priority tasks. The urgent important matrix can help determine between important, urgent and unimportant tasks. Let's have a look at it. Well, the urgent important matrix it's a matrix that helps us to be effective as well as efficient. In other words, we're completing tasks and we're completing the right tasks. Important tasks that aim to achieve the goals. So it's important it's important to complete and finish the important tasks. Not any task, the important ones. So they must be prioritized. It's important to complete the urgent tasks, tasks that need immediate attention to avoid any unfavorable consequences. In business, finish the tasks that will not hold up others, will not stop others from working. The work process must continue. So urgent tasks must be completed. We can visualize this. We can have a look at what's important and not important, and what's urgent and what's not urgent. And we can do it in terms of this type of structure. We have on the vertical axis what's important and what's not important, what's urgent and what's not urgent. And we can fill out that by looking at different tasks and writing in the tasks that are important. If they're important and urgent, they must be done now. If they're not important and not urgent, they don't have to be done. They can be left. If they're not important but they're urgent, they're not important, so they can be completed or rejected. They're not important, so they may be forgotten about or they may be completed. There might be tasks that are urgent but not necessary. The really important ones are the urgent ones, the urgent tasks that are important. So this little matrix shows how that could be worked out. And time management can fit into this by listing out the tasks that fit into the different boxes and which ones need to be done soon rather than later. And then managing time accordingly to ensure that the important and urgent ones are done first. The important ones and not so urgent must be planned to be done. The not important ones, well, they have low priority. If the resources are available, the not important but the urgent ones could be completed later. And that's our talk on time management. That's all I'm going to do on this session, so I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.